Hi friends, how are you? I'm Jerry, and I'm wondering if you have ever felt so in the thick of despair or mourning or concern that you just haven't been able to see your way out of it. And that happens to people sometimes even when they are close with God. And that happened to Jacob in the Bible, who God renames Israel. And Jacob becomes the father of 12 sons, 10 by his wife Leah, who he was tricked into marrying, by the way. Never going to turn out super well, but God still blesses things. And then he had two sons, Joseph and Benjamin, with his wife Rachel, who was the wife of his heart and the one that he always loved and wanted to be with. Now, she didn't live very long. I believe she died in childbirth with Benjamin. And so you can imagine that Joseph and Benjamin were very near and dear to Jacob's heart. And sadly, for the older boys, the sons of Leah, I'm sure he loved them, but he kind of spoiled and doted on the younger ones. And so, of course, the older sons, had reason to be angry or jealous. And you may know the story of Joseph, the coat of many colors, all of that. So he ends up getting sold into slavery by his older half brothers. And they tell the father, they tell Jacob that he's been carried away or eaten up by a wild animal, and they dipped his coat in blood and brought it back to their dad. And so Jacob is already mourning the loss of Joseph and not knowing what God's plan is for the whole thing. And so fast forward, I'm not sure how many years, maybe 15, maybe more. Joseph he is living and he is in Egypt, and God has really blessed him and prospered him despite time in prison, despite being sold by his brothers, all this stuff, a lot of drama and trauma in his life. And he ends up, by the grace of God and by God's provision, becoming like the second in command in Egypt. And so he knew that there was a great, like a drought coming and a famine. And he had been helping Egypt prepare for that so that he would be able to, through God, provide food for the people and store up all the grain. And one day his older half brothers show up in Egypt because they're looking to buy food because there's nothing where they are. And so they don't know that he's still alive or that he's second in command in Egypt. And so when they see him, they don't know. They don't recognize him, but he recognizes them. And so he's kind of messing with them a little bit and testing them a little bit. And he doesn't reveal that he is their brother, but a few things transpire, and eventually he gets it to where they're going to need to go home and bring back their brother Benjamin, sort of for collateral or proof that they are who they say they are, and that they are honest people. And so they go home and tell Jacob what happened, and Jacob is beside himself because Benjamin is his baby and it's Rachel's baby, and he believes that Joseph is dead. So he does not want to let Benjamin go, and he fights them on it, but eventually he lets them take Benjamin to Egypt. But in Genesis 42:38, it says, "But Jacob said, 'My son will not go down there with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left of his mother's children. If harm comes to him on the journey you are taking, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in sorrow.'" So very dramatic. He does not want to lose Benjamin. He wants to protect him at all costs. And like I said, eventually he lets him go, and this leads to like a reconciliation. Joseph reveals to his brothers who he is. He gets them to go back and bring Jacob to Egypt, and so they all can be reunited. And so my long-winded point there is that when Jacob was in the midst of his despair, there's no way for him to see the greater plan that God had, not just for his sons, but for his entire nation, because of the position that Joseph was in. It was a position he had where he was able to basically save the people of Israel and his own family because of God's provision and God helping him to, store up the grain for the famine. And so we often are mourning or in despair or in grief or even anger over our situations. And some of our situations are pretty terrible, but we're never able to see the whole picture of our life while we're in the midst of living it. And so Jacob is in despair, but he's not knowing and seeing yet how God is blessing this all over the place. And so I just thought that was really cool. I learned that during a time that I had a lot of despair in my own life, a lot of grief in my own life. And it really comforted me to know that in the middle of my grief, I'm still not able to see what all God is doing and how he's blessing me, or maybe blessing people around me through me, blessing us through one another. God's pretty awesome, and he is always working behind the scenes in big ways and little ways that we may never know fully till the other side, till we're in heaven. So my quote today is also from the Bible. It's from John 13:7. Quoting Jesus. Jesus replied, "You do not realize what I am doing, but later you will understand." So there's going to come a day, maybe it's not till we get into heaven, but that we will see why everything happened the way that it did, and how God was always with us and always working things out for his glory and for our blessing and for our survival and for our salvation. So I'm really grateful to know that God is always with me. There's a lot of crazy things going on in my life right now, a lot of blessings and some difficult things and some just busy things. And I gotta tell you that tomorrow we are making a long drive down to Oregon to pick up a new puppy. So we have really been missing our two Shih Tzus that passed away in this last year. Bentley passed away in February, and then our little Barkley passed away in August. And I thought, well, maybe it's the right kind of timing to be pet free, because we're about to be living in our RV for a period of time. And but then I've just been missing Barkley so much, and missing just having the little dogs around us, and they're just such loves and such good company. And so my husband sort of started at first. He was looking at ads for Shih Tzu puppies, but I ended up doing a search and finding a small breeder down in Springfield, Oregon, and it worked out that we're going to get a little male like we preferred, and we're also getting a black puppy. We really liked our little black and white Barkley, and so we're gonna go and make the long drive tomorrow. We're gonna bring him home, and so maybe the next time I see you, I'll have a little puppy in my arms. And we're just so excited, and I know it's going to be a long day tomorrow, but I know that we're going to be blessed by this little guy, and so we can't wait to meet him, and I can't wait to show him to you next time. And in the meantime, I hope you have a blessed day, and I love you, and I will see you next time.